calendar meeting to order at 6:35. Kevin, or actually our new recording secretary, Joyce, can you take attendance for the roll call for the calendar meeting?
Roll to call attendance.
Say that again.
Roll to call attendance.
Yeah, you're just going to take attendance.
President Steve Stowe.
Here.
First Vice President John, how do you say your last name?
Sorry.
Second Vice President Elizabeth Chen. Here. Recording Secretary Joyce. Here. Council Member Kevin Zhao.
Here.
Mei Fan Chen. Here. Wenmin Chen. Here. Yan-Qing Chen. Here. Martin. Here. Maya Logan-Rock. Awesome. Okay, so okay, nine is 1 up.
Great, thank you. We just had the interpreters introduce themselves, so I don't think it's necessary to have a new introduction, but if anyone, could the interpreters please post their numbers in the chat again? And just as a reminder, we have Arabic, Mandarin, and Spanish interpretation available. If anyone in the meeting would like to dial into one of the language lines, you can see the numbers posted in the chat. And I'm going to ask, Kevin, you're keeping an eye on the chat as well. There's this back and forth going on with one member, and if we need to, you can kick them out of it if it gets more intense. What's that? Okay. Yeah, I'll just say right now for the meeting, we don't want to limit the chat. We never want to turn off the chat, but I'd ask that the back and forth about the CEC members speaking English stops, or we're going to close the chat off. So for the calendar meeting tonight, Kevin, can you share the agenda? So for the calendar meeting, we're not going to elect council president. That's already been done. Usually we start with a public speaking session, and we can start with that tonight. And then we'll have a report of the superintendent. We'll have a report from council president, and then we'll approve the June calendar meeting minutes. And that's it. And then immediately following the calendar meeting, we'll have the business meeting. And that's a very short agenda. For public speaking, there are several ways to sign up for public speaking. One is using a Google form that we will put in the chat. That is also available on our website. If there are a limited number of people attending the meeting, we can also simply take raised hands in the Zoom. We will also take questions from anyone on the interpretation lines. Okay. Kevin, can you drop you did put it in there? Yeah. Awesome, thank you. Do we have anyone signed up for public speaking yet? Yeah. Great. And you can call them if you want, Kevin.
Elizabeth Edmonds.
Great. Elizabeth Edmonds. And just so everyone knows, we have a 3-minute speaking time limit. The rule we ask speakers to please be considerate of is focus on ideas, not people. But otherwise, this is a public forum, and it's your chance to have a say and share your views on education in District 20. So Elizabeth, are you able to unmute? And if so, you can speak. Is she in? Can we see?
I'm on mute.
She's in the meeting.
Is it working?
Yeah. Hi, Elizabeth.
It's good now? All right, sorry. There seemed to be a delay. I'm so sorry. So thank you so much. I'm just speaking as a private citizen, but also as a member of the Bay Ridge neighborhood. I live right around Owl's Head Park, and a few weeks ago, there was a special CEC meeting where there was a discussion of rezoning in light of the new school K053. And that school is about a block from my house. But interestingly, the rezoning expects that students who live around Owl's Head Park will continue to take a bus about a half a mile to a mile over the Belt Parkway to PS 939. And in light of the fact that we're building a new school, literally within about 0.2 miles from where most of these students live, it really seems to me that the students who are being bused should go to the school that they can walk to. And another concern I had with the new zoning proposal was that it seems to move the lines from PS 185 so that students from PS 185 will move to PS 102. There are obviously a couple different ways that we could do this, and I'm happy to propose some new maps, but I just wanted to reach out and say that a lot of us are concerned that there doesn't seem to be any need to be busing students from the area around Owl's Head Park all the way to PS 939. I can show you the zone map. I don't know if you can see it very well here, but what it is that there's a carve out here and here just for 939, these two squares. And it really frankly makes no sense for those students who literally cannot safely walk across the Belt Parkway to go to school. So thank you very much. I don't want to take any more time, but I appreciate it.
Thank you. And just a quick comment for all the CEC members who are new. This is an issue that we're going to be dealing with a lot over the next few months, the rezoning that Ms. Edmonds just mentioned. So we can talk more about this at the right time, but that's a very important topic that she brought up right now. Next speaker, Kevin.
Yeah, Francis Brown.
Francis is in person.
You're fine where you're standing.
That should be good, yeah.
Hi, my name is Frances Brown. I'm here on behalf of Senator Yulin Chu. She is District 17, Senate District 17, New York State Senator, and I just wanted to come and on her behalf and congratulate all the newly elected members and returning members of CEC 20 and present you with certificates of recognition for all of the work you do for our community. I won't go through your names. I don't want to take up too much time, but thank you all and congratulations on your elections.
Thank you so much, Francis. Really appreciate that. Yeah. Thanks to the senator as well. Yeah.
And also those speakers.
Okay. And are there any, for the interpreters, is there anyone on the interpretation lines who would like to make a public comment? Okay.
Remember, interpreter speaking, can you hear me? Hello? I cannot hear you if you're speaking right now. I just wanted, okay, I don't know for some reason I cannot hear you right now, but I just wanted to know that there's no one on the mailing line, no one on the members line.
Okay. We heard you. Thank you.
The Spanish
Okay,
line,
so
there's
no
no
further
comment.
public speaking. Okay, thank you. In Arabic, anyone on the Arabic line that would like to speak?
No, there's not.
Great, thanks so much. So we'll now move on to the rest of our meeting. You know, maybe it does actually. Maybe it does make sense for everyone to just quickly introduce themselves, since we have so many new members and it's our first meeting. Let's do that. Let's just take a minute and everyone just introduce themselves. You can say who you are, where you're, you know, number of kids. It doesn't have to be long, doesn't even have to be as long as the speeches for the election, but just so everyone on the meeting can meet their CEC for the first time. So I'll just start. My name's Steve Stowe. I'm a returning member. I have 2 children. One is a junior in high school. One is a 8th grader. I'm going to be a senior and a freshman next year. And I've been involved with the CEC for a little over 2 years now. And I very much enjoyed the time, enjoyed getting to know everyone in the district, as well as getting to know many people and individuals at the DOE and across the city, and working on a lot of issues that impact the District 20 that the DOE is deciding on, and that elected officials are voting on in Albany and City Council. So everything from sort of meeting with elected officials and the chancellor, down to visiting schools and talking to principals and hearing from individual parents with concerns. The whole range are all things I really enjoy and really hope to continue working on for the next 2 years. So I thank everyone for voting me back in. Should we go this way, right down here? Kevin, you want to go next?
Hi everybody, my name is Kevin. It's an honor to be re-elected to the council. I hope we can work better together for our kids in the next 2 years. Thanks.
Right down there.
Hi everyone, my name is May Fanchen. So I have the 2 kids of my family, and so very thankful for this year that I will be CEC members. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Joyce. My last name is FIE. So I'm so grateful for this opportunity, and thanks for everyone for vote for me and my school support. I'm so enjoying last term for the school visiting and communicate with the parents and principals, and I met a lot of my parent leaders. So this opportunity can stretch my vision and the education side and improve myself and helping my all kids. So I'm grateful I could be served the CEC 20 this time again. Thank you.
Once again, my name is Max Stern. I have 3 children. I have my oldest is a junior. In August is in high school college. My son is going to be a senior in high school, and I have a incoming high school student. I have been working for years. I've also been part of the council for 3 years, so I'm very familiar with a lot of our schools and a lot of our PTA and a lot of our families, because I'm very involved community member. And so please feel free to reach out to me if you have an issue. All right, and I enjoyed being part of CEC 20 and working in a different capacity that I know we have been. So it's been interesting.
Hello everyone, my name is Yuan Chen. We're glad to be a new CEC member here. I have 3 kids, and 2 kids on the PS 170, and another kid just graduated on the PS 170 from the beginning middle school. So I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is John Repertoni. I'm a lifelong resident of Benton Heights for 45 years. Thank you for electing me. I have a daughter that goes to the same school that I graduated from, which is PS 200, and I'm here to help everybody. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know. Thank you.
I'm Victor Chen. I'm a returning CEC member. I'm also SMBC before, and now I'm given the state position, and I'm advocating for our district parents and students. And regardless of politics, we'll consider it right for both our students and our parents in the district. And since I'm a lifelong New York City resident and a New York City born and raised, I know what's good and bad, and hopefully I hope what's good.
Let me others come closer.
How are you? Yes, my name is Lanicia.
That's the length. It's not gonna.
I have two kids, and one is the kid behind because I will be sad to go to the fifth grade and the one is high school right now. And I'm very honored to be here, and thank you so much. And I was the CCSD member before, so I'm so glad that you had thank you.
Great. So thanks. Do we have our superintendent? David, are you there?
Hi, good evening, Steve. Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me? All good? So, good evening, District 20 and CEC 20. To all the returning members of the council, congratulations. I'm looking forward to working with you all again for another 2 years on topics that are relevant to the district. To all the new members, congratulations as well. I look forward to meeting you all, obviously in person, and working with you on supporting all of our kids in the district. My apologies again for not being in person. I am typically in person. We'll definitely see everybody in August in person and moving forward. So I will proceed with my presentation. So I'm just going to share my screen. I just want to confirm that everybody can hear me. All good? Great. So I'm going to just start with the priorities of Chancellor Banks, which guides all of the city's work, obviously my work as superintendent, and will be the guiding principles for the design of the district's goals on the district comprehensive educational plan. Each year, the district crafts with the district leadership team, which is represented by CEC and all constituents in the district, inform and craft an action plan aligned to goals. And these are the priorities that will inform the goal setting at the district. And they're same from last year. So the number one goal is all students in New York City will learn to read well. And this is the focal point of Chancellor Banks now with the New York City Reads campaign. And I will be giving an update on that, on our work in District 20 around NYC Reads. So for returning members, it will be no surprise. For new members, this will be a big focal point of the work and presentation that I will provide in the upcoming year and the goals that we will set in the district. And then going on down the line, number 2, all students are physically and emotionally safe. Number 3, all students have a high quality academic experience. Number 4, all students will graduate college and career ready and have a strong plan and pathway to economic security. All districts and schools are more inclusive and responsive for parents and families, including having more families choose New York City public schools, and a specialty priority of the chancellor that will inform work that we do at the district, and I will be able to provide updates on the work that we did last year in this area, which is to reduce chronic absenteeism. That is students who have an attendance percentage under 90%. So I'd like to just start with a review of the primary assessment tool, the way in which we monitor how students are doing in relation to our reading and math goals. So this year, as last year and the prior year, all students in District 20 schools in grades kindergarten through 8th grade will be assessed 3 times a year with an academic screener. This is a tool that we use to monitor student progress towards their expected benchmarks, or where they're supposed to be in relation to the science of reading and nationally normed benchmarks in math. So every student in grades kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade will be assessed 3 times a year via the Acadience assessment. This monitors student progress towards benchmarks in learning how to read, aligned to the tenets of the science of reading. And I will provide updates over the course of the year in how our students are doing based off of their performance in the Acadience assessment, and what we're doing at the district level to support student growth in learning how to read. And then all students in grades 3 through 8 will be assessed 3 times per year via the iReady diagnostic assessment. And this monitors student progress towards grade level performance in reading. And then in math, all students in grades kindergarten through 8 will be assessed 3 times per year via the iReady assessment, which monitors student progress towards grade level performance in mathematics. And next month, I will share some brief information as well as information for follow-up over the course of the year. Part of the NYC Reads initiative has extended to our pre-K program. So all of our students in our pre-K program, that's in our 11 pre-K centers, and our 8 schools that have pre-K classes at the community school, will be assessed with a early childhood screener, which is called Ages and Stages. So I'll be sharing more information on that. But that the work that we're doing in NYC Reads will be also extended in pre-K. So, as all returning council members know, and something that is definitely important for all of our new council members, is that NYC Reads is the primary priority of the chancellor, and definitely work that we have been digging into very deeply in the district for the past year and a half. We have obviously announced several months ago that all of our District 20 schools will be implementing a common reading curriculum from Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, or HMH, and the Into Reading curriculum in grades kindergarten through 5th grade, and the Into Literature curriculum in 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. And I've invited HMH to come and give a presentation on the background and the design of the program. But just to reiterate some of the big ticket items regarding the implementation of Into Reading and Into Literature. First, around the goal of all students learning how to read by the end of 2nd grade. Our kindergarten through 2nd grade foundational literacy programs, these are the programs that teach phonics, phonemic awareness, vocabulary at the early childhood levels, specifically in the efforts aligned to the tenets of the science of reading to teach students how to read. All of our schools in District 20 will continue to utilize the programs that they have been using and have been approved by the central DOE in the upcoming year. So these, the most commonly used foundational literacy programs in the district are Wilson Foundations, really great reading, Orton Gillingham, and Hegarty, which is specific for phonemic awareness. But these are the most commonly used curricular resources and programs to support foundational literacy in kindergarten and 2nd grade. That will not change with the shift to Into Reading and Into Literature. In K-2, those programs will operate alongside Into Reading. But the other big important pieces around the implementation of this curriculum is that one, all students across the district will be engaged in grade level appropriate, standards aligned instruction and reading and writing, which is a huge priority of the chancellor and is definitely a huge priority of mine in all 4 content areas, including English language arts. The implementation of this curriculum is aligned to the tenets of the science of reading. And our focus this year will be on building student background knowledge in their efforts to read, to learn, the learning of vocabulary, obviously reading and writing lessons that are aligned to a thematic unit of the study. And we'll see some more information from HMH on that in a second. We will monitor student performance against the expectations of the next generation learning standards in every unit via a unit test, and the progress of all students in the district will be monitored at both the school and the district level, which is something that we have been very closely focused on over the last couple of years in my superintendency through the use of Acadience and iReady, and now we will be balancing out that look at student performance with how in relation to individual standards via the Interreading into Literature unit assessments. And then finally, schools will continue to maintain flexibility for how they implement small group instruction, independent reading, the reading of class novels, and independent tasks and project-based learning that schools use for both remediation and support of students who are striving to meet standards, as well as students who are meeting and exceeding standards and it's appropriate to provide extension. So more on that, but these are some of the big goals that we're looking to meet in the implementation of the curriculum. And I provided that as a setup and overview and a refresher around the implementation of the curriculum, specifically to introduce our partners from HMH, which I've invited to join us this evening and provide the council with a presentation on the curriculum. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Did I stop sharing my screen?
Screen wasn't shared.
My screen wasn't shared the whole time? Oh my God. My apologies. I'll run back through the slides in a second. So I very much apologize. But I have invited HMH to have a presentation. So we have Erin Kennard, I see Shoshana Green here, and I see Fabora Reeves, all from HMH. So I just want to welcome them all. And if I'm not sure who needs co-host privileges in order to be able to share. So Erin.
Yep. I was going to say I'm going to have the same issue unless I can be given hosting privileges. Perfect. Thank you so much. Nice. It's really lovely to be here as I attempt to share my screen again. I just want to thank Dr. Preto for inviting us. I'm going to pass it to my colleague Shoshana and Verbora to introduce themselves while I figure out how to properly share this presentation in Zoom versus Teams, which is what I'm used to. So Verbora, do you mind taking for a second there?
Can you all hear me? Good evening, everyone. I'm Verbora Reeves, the Area Sales Director of HMH for all of New York City. We are delighted to be here this evening, and I'd like to invite my colleague Shoshana to introduce herself as well, and then we'll be ready to get started.
Hi, good evening. I'm Shoshana Green. I'm the Senior Account Executive for HMH in New York City, and I'm on districts 13 through 17, 20, 21, 23, and 32. And Erin, you can see.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And can you hear me okay? Great. And Dr. Preto, do you I just need a time check versus I think what's in the agenda. I just want to make sure I'm within the appropriate time frame here.
Yes, you're fine. Go ahead, Aaron.
So 20, I can talk for 20 minutes and that will be okay?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, great. Well, again, thanks for inviting us to be here. I wanted to let you know I was part of the teams that developed Into Reading and Into Literature when they were created. It's truly an honor to be participating and partnering with District 20 in the fall. I'm a former first grade teacher, and although I live in Texas now, I did spend some great early years in Brooklyn, so it's really lovely to be here with all of you tonight, and especially to have the chance to speak directly to parents, because we often that's not something that we get to do on an everyday basis. So thank you. Into Reading is the program designed to teach comprehensive reading language arts to kindergarten through grade 5. And as Dr. Preto said, I'm going to be touching just on a few elements of the way and I'm going to try and speak more slowly than I normally do in a quick presentation. Into Reading is a research-based, evidence-informed reading program. It is 100% aligned to the New York Next Generation Learning Standards. You'll see that it is designed around multi-genre text sets that are truly worthy of reading and deep text analysis. And it is designed to have tasks embedded within the curriculum that prepare students for high stakes state tests and to perform well on those within their daily instructional opportunities. We will, Into Reading and Into Literature both have extensive opportunities to support students at all levels, and particularly around extending learning for students who are ready for even higher level instruction than grade level instruction. And there is also extensive support for parents within the program and on the platform. Into Reading has been given the highest rating by a third-party review, Ed Reports. An all green review on Ed Reports is the highest review that they give any program in their criteria around text quality and alignment to standards, around building knowledge, and with reading and text in the content areas, building vocabulary, and also usability from a teaching and student perspective. So we're very, very, very pleased with that independent rating of all green on Ed Reports, and invite you to investigate more on your own. Into Reading was designed really based on the research of what we know about how children learn to read. And anyone who's ever spent any time focused on reading instruction knows that there are really essential elements to literacy instruction. Dr. Preto already mentioned, the importance of foundational skills in phonics and phonemic awareness. There are also the pillars of fluency, vocabulary, comprehension, building content area knowledge, and then integrating writing within all of that literacy instruction on a foundation of language development and also social emotional learning. Into Reading meets 100% of the New York Next Generation Learning Standards. So teachers can have full confidence that they are addressing the state standards with every lesson. And the reporting on our platform lets teachers see in real time, based on student interactions and their tasks that they complete, how they are performing and moving towards standards mastery. So that will work very nicely in conjunction with the progress monitoring that Dr. Preto mentioned would be happening with your interim benchmark assessment tools. The instructional framework of Into Reading is designed around a whole group, small group model. So within the whole group instruction, you'll have direct instruction in vocabulary, in reading comprehension and writing. While you see foundational skills, while foundational skills are part of the comprehensive reading program, we understand that schools will still be implementing their existing foundational skills instruction, and we have found in other districts and other schools where they want to combine a foundational skills curriculum with Into Reading's comprehensive reading, language arts, writing curriculum. That works very well. We're also designed to facilitate small group reading and writing instruction, and also intervention and extension as as is needed for individual student needs. I think the foundation, the heart of any reading program really lies in the quality of the actual texts that children are reading when they learn to read. And Into Reading is organized around text sets that are multiple texts at different genres that are around the same topic, social studies, science, or arts topics. So that way students really get a chance to dive more deeply into a particular topic area, and really that contributes to their knowledge building while they're learning to read. All texts are carefully selected for their alignment to that topic area and for their Lexile level that is grade level appropriate. So all of the texts that are used in the whole class instruction and reading comprehension instruction and into reading are grade level texts. We also know that it's really important for kids to get engaged in the reading that they are learning with in school. If kids aren't engaged, if the texts aren't engaging, it's really hard to get kids to do the work that they need to do to really learn to read and progress. So Into Reading really stands out in its offering of high quality, authentic trade literature. And what we mean by trade literature are those are published, published authors that you would find in a bookstore or in the library. They're not texts that have been crafted to teach kids to read. They are authentic trade literature selected for their appropriateness for that grade level instruction, for their Lexile level. Also for their cultural relevance. We want to make sure that all children see themselves in the materials that they're exposed to in school when they're learning to read. And then we've also prioritized our text selections based on, award-winning literature like Newbery and Caldecott Awards. Teachers have access to very detailed information in their teacher's guides around what makes any particular text complex, be it the Lexile level, be it the learning objectives, or perhaps the topic. So there's both quantitative and qualitative analysis to the complexity of texts, and a lot of expertise that goes into the selection of these texts that kids then get to have in their hands and learn to read. As I mentioned, the text sets are designed to build knowledge across grade levels. We know that it's important for students to develop their reading skills with nonfiction and cross-curricular topics to be able to grow as content area readers. and really be able to deeply comprehend those content area materials as they grow into middle school and high school. So you can see that the texts in across the grade levels here align around certain aspects of social studies and also science. Meanwhile, while we're building knowledge through those text sets, we are also diving very, very deeply into comprehension and giving teachers and students the opportunity to really focus on specific comprehension skills, and then applying those comprehension skills to a text in a way that really requires students to cite evidence for the text, from the text, to get a really deep understanding of the text, and then show their understanding with independent practice activities afterwards. There are anchor charts that focus on those deep comprehension skills and strategies. And then all of the text sets that students learn to read are included in a consumable. We call it a My Book. That's their student book that they can annotate and write in as they read. There's a teacher's version of that My Book that includes very helpful point of use prompts that support teachers in really getting into the deep comprehension of those texts through various comprehension strategies. Here's an example around, a deep, close read to get at author's purpose. Similarly, students respond to every text that they read through collaborative discussion and through writing in response to the text through their My Book. So they are, really deepening their comprehension and supporting their, their reading, writing, listening, and speaking skills through those collaborative discussions and through the response writing that they do at the end of every 3-week module in interreading. Every week there is response writing that is connected to the end of the module performance task. And every 3-week module is organized around an essential question that is related to that knowledge, topic, or skill. For example, what behaviors help animals survive? So here's an example of how, while we're teaching reading and writing, we are also engaging in that science content area about behaviors that help animals survive. Every module ends in a performance task. I mentioned this briefly before. These performance tasks are writing tasks that require students to respond to multiple texts on a certain topic and synthesize their knowledge about that topic, as well as their reading and writing skills that they've developed over the course of that 3-week module in a format that's similar to what they're going to see on the state tests. So built into the end of every module is an activity that prepares them for that later expected performance. We also have support for small group instruction. So there will be ways that teachers can bridge to the selections that they want to leverage during small group and connect to the reading comprehension skills they're teaching in whole group. We have extensive, opportunities for project-based learning with our inquiry and research projects that are included for every single module. This is where this allows students to really develop and build their research and collaboration skills, and is a great opportunity, to really extend learning for students who are ready for more. We have, ongoing homeschool connection supports, both on, online on our ed platform. We have family home letters that are in 11 different languages that outline what's going to happen at the beginning of every module that teachers can share, so parents can have a good understanding of what's going on in the classroom. And on our Ed platform, we have HMH Family Room, which supports, again, that homeschool connection and is easily accessible for parents once they receive that the login credentials to our learning platform known as Ed. Moving on to Into Literature, which is our comprehensive reading language arts program for grades 6 to 8. Into Literature builds on the instructional model of Into Reading and really extends the focus on deep, close reading and application of critical analysis of text and being able to show evidence of your text comprehension in your writing. We have an instructional framework that really fosters deep skill application. Into Reading features a blend of instructional texts of both excerpts and full-length texts to engage and challenge students, also aligned to the New York's Next Generation Learning Standards, activities to differentiate and extend, and family support. The instructional framework of Into Literature is, we have 6 units that are a longer course of study, and each, but again, they also are organized around essential questions that get students to really think deeply about, about a certain topic across multiple texts that are related on a topic. And while they engage really deeply in specific skills and strategies, inviting them to deeply analyze the text that they're reading and apply those skills, and then collaborate with each other as they engage in that critical analysis. There is a reader's choice section that's part of every every unit that allows for a lot of flexibility in terms of the novels that are selected, but every unit ends with end of unit tasks that kind of wrap everything up and require students to reflect on their learning and then show evidence of their learning in assessments that mirror the expectations of standardized tests and and tasks, higher level writing tasks as they move into high school. I mentioned there's 6 thematic units per grade, and there is really a gradual release format to every one of those units where there's more support in this application of a certain skill or strategy with direct support by the teacher, and then it moves into a more guided, collaborative, and then independent application model. A combination of whole class, small group, and independent instruction with a consistent focus on skills. Every lesson targets 2 to 3 specific skills, comprehension skills and critical analysis skills to get students very well versed in the application of those skills. For example, analyzing point of view. Again, 100% aligned to the New York Next Generation Learning Standards, and support for teachers to know exactly which standards any particular activity, task, assessment item is related to. So that tracking of that standard, of those standards, is and the understanding from the teacher's perspective of what they're teaching is very explicit and clear. I mentioned briefly those 10-minute assessments after each selection do mirror the New York State assessment format. Those have been carefully designed to be embedded in the program to expose students to those types of expectations and activities so they're well prepared in advance of those state tests without extensive test prep requirements sort of outside of your daily regular English language arts instruction. These texts are designed and selected to really advance critical thinking with a variety of texts. There are a combination of excerpts, but also full-length selections. And as I mentioned before, 5 recommended novels per unit for that reader's choice. We offer full extensive study guides for each of those 5 suggested novels. But we also encourage the flexibility for teachers to be able to incorporate their favorite novels into that aspect of the curriculum, and that works very, very well. We have a combination of both classic and contemporary texts. So students will, really see themselves in the contemporary stories, and that relatability really helps them, connect to the themes that are found in some of the more traditional classic foundational literature selections. Texts like an Into Reading, the texts were chosen very, very carefully to make sure they really fit the topic, the essential question, and that they really are appropriate from a grade level Lexile standard, and that they are rigorous and challenging, and really will, set kids up for success moving forward. Again, cultural relevance is key. It's critical that all of our students see themselves in the materials that they read. We offer additional supports for every learner. So for both striving learners, for multilingual learners, and then advanced learners who are ready for more, there's deep support in the teacher's guides for teachers on how to differentiate learning based on individual student needs. Just a little bit more detail around, opportunities to extend learning for those advanced learners, multilingual learners. And opportunities for project-based learning. So there's a reflect and extend section at the end of every unit that really gives students an opportunity to show their learning in fun, multimedia, collaborative project kinds of ways. And those, these are our, end of unit writing tasks that also require speaking and listening. There usually is a choice of different types of tasks that require students to really synthesize information through reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And lastly, again, with Into Literature, we have, support through Family Room so that parents and caregivers can have easy, quick access to what their kids are reading, what they're learning, what they're focused on in any particular unit, so that important homeschool connection is supported. And that is my 4 minutes too long, I think, overview of Into Reading and Into Literature. Thanks for the opportunity to talk a little bit about it with you today, and we're really eager to hear hear how it goes.
Great, thank you so much, Aaron. That was really, really informative. We've been talking about this a lot with David over the past several months, and having you guys here, we really do appreciate the time. I have some questions, but I want to go to anyone else who wants to ask any questions first. I'm happy to start with my questions as well. But if anyone else has questions on anything about the program. Yeah, hold on, Elizabeth. Use the mic if you don't mind. And Aaron, we're now asking questions. If you can't hear someone speaking, please just interrupt and we'll reposition ourselves here.
Will do. Thank you.
I wanted to know, so a lot of it relies on the students being online, this program, because you say a lot about tracking standards, so then they will have to be plugged in for them to be assessed.
Aaron, could you hear the question?
I could not. I'm sorry. Would it be possible for you to restate the question?
Yeah, a lot of it that you mentioned about, you said a lot of it is tracking standards and program assessments for the students. So do they have to be plugged in remotely? Like they always have to be constantly working on their iPad or the internet?
No. No, there are print materials as well as digital materials, so there is not a requirement for students to be consistently or constantly connected or working digitally. That's an option, but that's not a requirement.
And I can add on to that from our ordering standpoint of materials in District 20 and across New York City. For interreading, all students and schools will have the print materials. So the My Book that Aaron referred to, that kind of the core resource, as well as several other resources are in print. So children will be working with hard copy materials. That was something that we advocated very strongly for and prioritized when sharing our feedback around what materials were going to be most important for our kids to learn best from. We really felt strongly that they needed to have books in their hands.
Yeah, Aaron, I just want to follow up on that. The My Book, can you explain sort of briefly how that is put together? Is that by grade? So all third graders will have a similar My Book, all fourth graders will, or are there other ways that it gets constructed?
Right, thanks for asking. So the My Book is an anthology of those text selections. And there is a similar anthology. There's a grade 1 anthology. There's a grade 2 anthology. So every student for those My Book text selections has the same selections. And one of the innovations of the My Book is it is consumable, which means the student gets to keep it. They can write in it, although it's not a workbook. It is not a workbook. It is an anthology of authentic trade literature that students get to own and keep. And it has space at the upper grades in elementary school for annotation. So kids can really show, mark evidence, cite evidence, engage in that deep analysis of text and show what they know. And that's why those books are actually designed to be consumable for that, to support that level of analysis and application all the way through. It was a pretty big innovation, actually, that we were really happy to be able to make happen. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Can I do a follow-up? The My Book, is it online or is it printed as well?
Both. It's a fully available digitally, but also available in print.
So all students in District 20 will have a hard copy My Book, and they will also have access to all of the My Book materials online. So they'll have the book and they'll also have it online.
It'll basically follow them from grade to grade, is what you're saying.
The book itself? Oh no, so that's a great question. So the My Book, it's what we remember. I think that the easiest way to conceptualize it. It's like the anthologies that maybe we all had when we were kids in school, except for so it has all of the stories and it has all of the questions and space for kids to write their answers to the questions, as well as the big difference is what Erin's referring to as consumable. It's a book that it's just your child's book. So like they'll be able to write in it. They'll be able to underline things, highlight things. They'll be able to write in the book and keep it. It's theirs. And we felt like that this aspect of the resource was very important because so many of our students and so many of our teachers are accustomed to teaching reading through marking up the text, and in many cases using Post-its or other sticky notes to jot little notes about what they're thinking or noticing while they're reading and sticking those notes in the book. So the My Book really aligns to the way in which so many of our teachers teach students how to read to learn, because it enables them to annotate or write all over the text.
Erin, I've heard from some parents in the district that are concerned with the approach of text excerpts, not complete length books. How do you respond to that? And specifically parents who are concerned that just reading short excerpts doesn't truly build an appreciation for literature and the kind of inquiry that you might get with full length books.
100% agree with that concern. Into literature and into reading are designed with a combination of excerpts and also full length texts. It's absolutely critical that students engage in full reads of complete long novels and other works of literature. The shorter excerpts and selections provide an opportunity to, for focused instruction on a certain section and aspect. But if, we purposefully designed the program to be a combination of full length novels and excerpts within the instructional model.
How much of the unit is spent on the sort of the shorter readings versus full length reading, full books?
I think I would need to come back to you with a more specific answer. My question is, would that be, if you're asking about, instructional time versus independent reading time, I think obviously getting through a full novel doesn't happen necessarily in the context of your instructional time. That needs to happen during independent time outside of class.
You mentioned during the presentation that there's, I think you said teachers have the flexibility to introduce full-length novels into the curriculum, into the units, right?
Yes, there's in the reader's choice section at the end of every unit, after the more direct instructional portions. And Dr. Preto, if you want to jump in, because this is your particular the way you want your teachers to apply the resources in this way. But there are options to extend that learning in that unit to additional long read selections, and we make suggestions about certain novels and give full length novels that tie to that unit topic and seem like an appropriate long read choice. But that doesn't mean that teachers would be limited to those 5 novels. Dr. Preto, if you...
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you answered it, Erin, really, really well. The only thing that I would add, I have referenced with parents who have raised this concern that schools have, especially in the interliterature curriculum, a lot of flexibility around the choices that they make within the reader's choice component of the curriculum, which includes the class novels that Erin's referring to. The decisions that a school will make on this particular topic say none of the 5 novels, hypothetically speaking, none of the 5 novels in that particular unit of study appeal to a school or a teacher or a grade level, and they want to bring in their own novel. That's an option that schools have. However, they will need to demonstrate how that novel is connected to the thematic unit of study, how it's grade level appropriate, and how they're able to provide a similar level of rigorous experience that the curriculum materials do provide. So the opportunity is there, but the school will need to do some work in terms of providing the rationale for why that choice is a good choice for them in the school.
Yeah, and I'll move on to others who want to ask questions, but just last one on a unit. When you say a unit, what are we talking about? How many units are there in a school year?
Are you talking about an interliterature or an interreading? It's so you can expect in interreading, there are about 12 total units in the interreading curriculum at every grade level. Our schools will not implement every single one of those units based off of the way in which we've paced out the curriculum, looked at how it matches to our calendar and all those other things. Parents can expect our schools to implement about 9 of those 12 units in this upcoming year, in our first year. And in middle school, Into Literature has 6 total units, and we have worked with our schools to set an expectation of the first 4 units to be implemented. However, based off of the level of flexibility that schools have in implementing the curriculum, particularly within the reader's choice component, there are some schools that could, with the flexibility they have, engage in all 6 units. But we're only expecting them to engage in 4. And we are only expecting them to engage in 2 specific aspects of every unit, which is the analyze and imply and collaborate and compare components of the unit. The reader's choice, which includes the novels, is a choice that schools will make. They can either read a novel with the whole class, they could take all 5 novels and have small groups read the novel in a literature circle structure. They could have an independent reading. They can engage in one of the projects. They could do all 3 of those things, or they could skip it entirely and just move to the next unit. I'm not requiring that to be implemented. I just will require the school to make a choice on how they're going to approach that aspect of the unit design.
Okay, thanks. Tamara, you had a question?
Yeah.
You want the mic, Tamara?
Yes.
Yeah. Say what, Kevin? This laptop? Yeah. Hold on.
Okay. Actually, I have a question. I know you mentioned the parent aspect of it and how it's like multilingual and everything like that. So the parents can see like where their kids are at. Would that be available starting in September with this new program? And how would the parent actually have access? And also, what languages are available for that?
Tamara, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear most of the question. The only thing I did hear was the language, and I can address that, and then I'll ask you to say the rest of it for Erin. But in terms of language, interreading is translated into Spanish only. However, my district, one of the things that we're taking on at the district level is a translation. We have a translation committee that we've formed with a group of teachers from District 20 and led by folks on my team. We're going to be engaged in a year-long, at least, effort to translate all of the materials from our 4 core curriculum, starting with Into Reading and Into Literature, into the 5 languages that we have for dual language programs. So we will be translating all of the Into Reading materials that are shared and expected to be implemented with all students into Spanish, Arabic, Mandarin, Italian, and Russian, at least. And we will be also exploring other high incident languages that we have in the district to translate into those languages as well. So that translation of curriculum materials across all 4 content areas of ELA, math, social studies, and science is something that we're taking on at the district level. And we've already begun that work, and it will be ongoing throughout. But I wanted you to be able, I'm not sure if you heard the rest of the question.
I didn't. Yes, that does sound, I can hear. Yes, thanks.
I asked about the parent aspect of the curriculum because I know as a parent, when Common Core first came, in a lot of the issues that parents have is like they didn't learn along with their children. So they couldn't really help their children do their homework and everything because and especially our families that English was not their first language, right? Because we didn't learn the way that our kids learn in Common Core. So how is that aspect of this curriculum going to work for the parents? Is it going to be like a digital version? And I wanted to ask, like, would there be like a version where it could be where you said translated, but like would the schools be able to do like, like maybe like at the beginning of the year, like showing the parents how this system works from their aspect and then doing it in a way where it's accessible in other languages for the school. Would that be the school that's going to be doing it?
I can speak to the resource that HMH provides on the digital learning platform called Family Room, which provides resources, in both English and Spanish, not to the extent that Dr. Preto described in terms of, the full translations of the actual student materials. But Family Room is designed to help parents navigate that digital platform and know where to go on the digital platform to get access to the materials that their students have access to, so that parents and caregivers can do exactly what you're describing, which is have access to the same resources and materials that their children are using in class to be able to support them at home. Did that answer your question from, I think you might have had a question also about how the district was going to support, but that's how HMH has built into the materials that are being adopted by the district support for families.
Thank you. I know. I guess it would be up to this. I wondered how that aspect would work school-wide, right? Because since it's only English and Spanish that's available for like most of our schools with multiple languages, and some of our schools have like a great amount of just one group, like between 2 or 3 groups that are the base language in our schools. So like I was wondering as a parent, how would that be translated to them when it came to this feature, so that those parents can understand? Because it's different when a child speaks English, but when the parent doesn't, and you have to help your child with homework that you don't understand because it's not a language that's understandable to you, then it's hard to do that. So just trying to figure out like those components and making it accessible to everybody. But another,
Tamara, I was just gonna say, like, we're definitely looking very, very closely at the need for translation. You're 100% right, and we're very aware of the need for families to be able to have access to materials in a language that they can read and understand to support their children. One thing that we really found supportive from this curriculum was that the unit letters that you see on the screen right here at the beginning of every module, our schools have access and can send home and provide families with an overview of the unit in the 11 languages that are listed there, which include many of our high incident languages. So that's one thing that schools will be able to provide families with immediately. My team will also be looking very closely at the Ed platform, that family room, to see how we can provide further support for families in translation, because we do have the ability now through some digital tools and our translation committee to translate materials a little faster than we may have been able to do in the past with accuracy. So as we get more information about the Ed platform and the specific part of the family room, we'll be looking at how we can support families in addition to what HMH provides, just kind of a blanket as a part of the program.
all right, that was really helpful. I know one of the things that was mentioned was because it's a new curriculum, the teachers, have to go to PD and everything. Like, how much will they still be continuing to go to PD throughout the year and so forth, to keep up to date with like any new innovations that come on, like there's updates and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I can take this one. So all teachers in District 20 were provided with opportunities. At least we had a high percentage of teachers participate in 3 days of professional learning from HMH on the structure of the curriculum. And that's for all of our elementary schools. In addition to that, my team provided professional development to teacher leaders from the middle schools, and we're coordinating more professional development on specific onboarding for larger groups of middle school teachers to happen in the fall. But in addition to that work, every school in the district is going to receive many days of on-site coaching from an outside professional learning partner that is going to support teachers in the classroom, in teacher teams on the implementation of this curriculum. In addition to that, we will also have 2 additional team members being added to my district team, one UFT Teacher Center coach and one ELA implementation specialists. These 2 new team members are in addition to my already existing team, and all of their priority is going to be around supporting the implementation of the Into Reading and Into Literature curriculum, and providing professional development. In addition to that, I'm also organizing schools into groups based off of schools that have previously used the HMH curriculum and schools that are what we call new adopters, and being able to have them work in groups in similar ways that we have in this past year, to have them learn from schools that have been able to successfully implement the curriculum and give each other more of that, peer-to-peer feedback at the principal level and at the teacher level. So we're really organizing a lot of support for our teachers and our principals in the implementation of this curriculum.
That's all I have.
Great. Let me ask one more question, and I don't want to take up too much more time, but this is obviously a really important topic. And I want to try to blend some of the other questions I've gotten from parents on this. In terms of customizing it, and we've talked about this a number of different ways. You mentioned it in the presentation, but I just want to kind of hear the, District 20, all of our different sort of, communities here, many different cultural backgrounds. What are the ways that a principal can tailor the curriculum to meet the specific needs of their population at their school. If you could just, I don't necessarily want to get into too much more in-depth discussion, but you could just hit on kind of the 3-4 ways that a principal can do that.
It's a big question. I would say that the number one purpose that this curriculum is serving for all school communities across the district is ensuring that children are engaged in a reading curriculum that is grade level appropriate, is fully aligned to the next generation standards, and that all children in the district are engaged in that curriculum on a daily basis. And our approach to implementation, meaning there are aspects of the curriculum that schools must implement and they don't have any choice. And then there are other aspects that schools do have choice in implementing. So, and thank you for putting this slide up here. You'll see that the component where it says direct instruction and guided practice, this includes the component, aside from the foundational skills. So aside from the foundational skills component, there are aspects of the lesson plan every day that include direct instruction in high utility vocabulary, the reading of the grade level text with text dependent questions and students responding to text dependent questions that are aligned to the standards and the skills that are addressed in that lesson. And then writing. Like, those are the components of the curriculum that schools are going to be required to implement. In the small group component, where the independent practice, the tabletop mini lessons, the guided reading, that is not a part of the curriculum that I am mandated in schools to utilize the HMH resources. They may use them, and many of them. We have adopting schools that have been using those materials, and we have schools who are planning to use some of those materials in their implementation, but I'm not mandating that they use them. We have some schools that will continue to use some of their existing materials, their independent reading libraries, some of their guided and skill-based small group instruction materials, and other digital materials. Schools have flexibility to continue utilizing those materials in the small group component of the curriculum. The final component that is required is that the schools must implement the module assessment, the end of unit assessment that gives a summative assessment of the standards that were addressed in that unit by all students. That's the other component that is required.
Got it. Thank you, David. That was helpful. I think we should move on, unless any other council members who haven't asked a question on this want to get a chance to. Go ahead, John.
So what if a child is falling behind after evaluation? What are you going to do for them?
Let me just give you the mic, John. David? Did you hear it okay?
Yeah, I heard the question being, if a child is falling up behind, what are we going to do? So that's a great question, and there's a variety of things that we can do for the child, and that specifically within this graphic, this is a kind of a visual representation of the different types of activities that a child will definitely engage in and then may engage in. So within the parts that children will definitely engage in, which is the direct instruction and guided practice, that part is the part where all students will engage. And if there are children, and there may be children who are falling behind, they through the implementation of the lesson, teachers will be able to identify students who may be falling behind or need extra support in this part of the lesson. And the guided practice component is a kind of tier 1 or first catch for students who may be falling a little bit behind, and the teacher will be able to support them at that level. If they continue to need additional support in the small group instruction component of the lesson, which our teachers in District 20 are very, very accustomed to providing this type of instruction. the HMH curriculum provides a lot of support materials for teachers to use with small groups and individual students to support them when they're falling behind. In addition to all of the materials that HMH provides to support students who are struggling or falling behind, our schools also use some other resources to also support students. And it will be the teachers and the schools' decision and approach about how they go about utilizing the HMH materials or the existing materials that they may have been using and found success with to support students who are struggling and falling behind.
Can we get this presentation, please, David, after the meeting, or Aaron?
Yep, we've pulled together a number of resources that we can share for further investigation. So yeah, happy to share.
Okay, thanks. David, did you want to continue with your presentation?
Sure, and Aaron.
Thank you, I guess. Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron, Shoshana, and Vibora, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming and sharing all this information with the district, and look forward to continued, continued partnership and the implementation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to the continued partnership and collaboration. Thank you.
It's been an honor to be here. Thank you so much.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Good night.
So I'm now,
David.
all right, round, I'm definitely going to share my screen this time. Here. Okay, are we shared? Okay, great. I will share the slides on on the screeners, as well as the intro into literature. But like a topic that we have been discussing a lot has been accelerated learning. And I wanted to just start to support both, obviously, the existing council members, but also our new council members. One of the main topics that the CEC has engaged me in since coming on as superintendent has been the status of accelerated learning. In our district, we have 7 gifted and talented elementary school programs and a history of academic screened programs at the middle school level, including a program called the superintendent program. So one of the things that I did in coming on as superintendent was to examine accelerated learning in the district, as when I came on, all academic screens had been paused by Mayor de Blasio and Chancellor Carranza during the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. So in early 2022, Chancellor Banks tasked superintendents with examining academically screened programs and how they would move forward in the district. So I implemented a process for schools to design a program for their schools and approved 3 of them, and engaged in a year-long study on, it's been more like 2 years now at this point, of examining the history of accelerated learning in the district. And I framed it as a research question and have interviewed principals, former and current students and parents, and I am following up with teachers, but I have been using these questions to guide my information gathering on accelerated learning, which is, what's the definition of accelerated learning in the district? What's the current state? Who gets access to accelerated learning, and how does it impact student social emotional development? And some of the successes that I would say that we've had within the accelerated learning have been, one, this is prior to the implementation of screened programs in the district, was we expanded Regents offerings, that students who are able to engage in regents or high school level classes and take the exams and receive credit. We were able to expand those offerings, but beyond existing school-based honors programs, which practically all of our middle schools all have. And we tracked the region's passing rates and average scores of students who were new, were new takers of the regions, I guess is the best way to put it. We wanted to look at how we're providing access to all students who are capable of this level of programming. We cataloged how many of our students offer SHSAT prep courses across the district. We've expanded and established district-wide structures, including STEAM, as well as the Math and Science Olympiads, which I reported on regularly over the course of the past year. Our district-wide Civics for All partnership, which emphasized Soapbox NYC, speech giving, public speaking, and participatory budgeting. And we will be engaging in the district-wide implementation of the Civics for All curriculum as part of our social studies focus in the district. And then we engaged 2 of our schools in the design and implementation of the project-based learning professional development series that guided the city's gifted and talented expansion PD for teachers across the city. So as many of us know, Chancellor Banks ensured that there was at least one gifted and talented program in all 32 community districts. And in District 20, we added 1 3rd grade entry point G&T program at PS 127. And that school, along with PS 102, which is one of our existing schools with gifted and talented program, engaged in the design and piloting of the project-based learning professional development that was provided to all teachers of gifted and talented students across New York City. Some other successes have been the expansion of dual language programs to middle school, and I'm going to speak more about that after I get through the program. And we've established these programs in our middle school: Spanish at 220, Arabic at PSIS 30, Mandarin at McKinley 259, and Italian at 201. And we've also started new Spanish and Mandarin kindergarten programs at 176, at 204, and at 229. And we've also created some articulation plans for students who are in existing elementary dual language programs to ensure that they have opportunity to articulate into the dual language middle school programs if they would like to. And I'll have more information about the next steps on that in a second. I also met with an advisory group of principals and parent leaders to develop the research questions and get feedback. And I met with a lot of former District 20 middle school students that are now currently in high school, and many of them are graduating this year. And finally, I engaged with principals in establishing some definitions of what accelerated learning in the district means. And this is what we've established as our kind of 5 categories of accelerated learning. And this is important because it will inform, it will provide background on the design of my draft plan for, accelerated learning in the district, and also address one of the core issues and challenges that I found in the district when it came to accelerated learning, which was it was very difficult to find the difference between what was considered accelerated learning and what was just being provided to all kids. And the other challenge that school leaders, teachers found it very difficult to be specific about how they were providing something different and advanced to students in accelerated learning courses, both formal ones and informal school-based classes. So the 5 areas are what we call curriculum compacting, and this requires a standards aligned curriculum in the content areas that you're providing the accelerated learning, and is our focal point for looking at accelerated opportunities across the entire district. Foreign language and dual language instruction was something that was agreed upon by all constituents as an opportunity for acceleration. School-wide enrichment models, which many of our schools have. Project-based learning, which many of our schools provide to accelerated students. And then we have a variety of specialized programs, and I've provided some examples of those, and I will continue to provide some examples, but I just say specialized programs as a catch-all category to address some of the really amazing opportunities that our schools provide in different ways across the district. Some challenges that I ran into when examining accelerated learning in the district, and I've sought to address in the design of my draft plan for future programming in the district. One is I found that there were a lot of barriers to access to accelerated learning for students after an admissions year. So if a student didn't get into a gifted and talented class in kindergarten, or didn't get into a screen program in 6th grade, that they very often did not get the opportunity to engage in similar types of learning experiences in the follow-up years, even though they may have been capable, interested, and wanted to engage in those types. What I referenced before, I found minimal difference of instruction in many places between advanced classes and general ed classes. One thing that was very problematic was that there was no defined pathway from grade to grade. So, for example, in the Regents classes, the Regents in 8th grade was, in many cases, the only way to determine the difference between an advanced class and a general ed class, and that only happens in the 8th grade. So I really wanted to sought to address that issue of not having a defined pathway in every grade to be able to see how students who are accelerated were being provided with accelerated coursework. This was a big one, and something that we'll definitely need to address head on, and will be a big part of our school culture examination, expectations of school leaders, and our professional development that we're going to provide to teachers, is around the negative school culture impact that was reported by parents, by teachers, by students, and by school leaders, that in many cases there were student-to-student interactions and teacher-to-student interactions, relationships, and expectations that ultimately created a negative impact for many students. So something that we're going to be very closely looking at, and is a big concern of ours with the implementation of accelerated programming. And then finally, the inability to monitor the program quality or its impact on an ongoing basis. So while we were able to see how students were passing the Regents, schools had very few other tools to be able to see whether the program they were implementing was of high quality and whether it was having impact on students in the ways in which we would expect them to have. So I share these challenges to be able to share the draft plan. There has been a request for additional screen programs at the middle school level in the district. We have implemented academic screen programs at 3 schools in our district, at Krista McAuliffe, at McKinley Junior High School, and at Madeline Brennan Junior High School 201. But there has been a request for additional programming, that this was not enough. And I have examined some data points around student performance and demand through the application process, and have seen that there is both a rationale and a demand for additional screen programming. However, in light of the challenges, I want to make sure that the design of this program does not reinforce some of the challenges that we saw on the prior screen and in previous iterations of the superintendent program of academically screened programs in the district. So I want to start with our district priority of all meaning all. And this is something that I say a lot around an expectation of when frequently we say that, we're going to do something for all students. And I really want to reinforce that the opportunities that we're going to include in this program are something that I'm going to be requiring all principals to develop plans for how they're going to provide access to any one of these opportunities to students who are interested, who are capable of it, and didn't maybe necessarily fit into that that admissions process, which is something that I've been very clear about delineating between the academic experience that a child has and the process for being admitted into a school. So one thing that all schools will do this year, and many of our schools already do this, but we're going to be expanding it to all schools. All schools will develop either a National Honor Society or ARISTA program, and these are nationally recognized individual student achievement awards and recognitions for high performance in school, and they have very rigorous expectations around students performing very high in their grades, as well as a community service component to demonstrate how students are becoming, positive contributors to society and potential future, leaders in the community, which is something that's very much aligned to our focus in our Civics for All component. And also, all schools will be required to develop school-based plans for universal access, and that means that students who are capable, interested, willing, want to explore these things will have the opportunity to do so through an approach and a plan that the principals will be required to develop to all of our D20 priorities. So to the arts, to STEAM, to the Science Olympiad, Math Olympiad, Civics for All programs, SHSAT prep, and foreign language and world language instruction. All schools will be required to develop plans for how students who are capable, interested, want access, can get access to these in a variety of ways. Our schools have a lot of different ways in which they do this, but schools will be communicating how they do it. In elementary school, for our gifted and talented programs, beginning in 2024, all of our gifted and talented programs will be required to implement an approved NGLS-aligned curriculum in the 4 core content areas. That's ELA, social studies, science, and mathematics. And using those curriculum, they will be engaging in curriculum compacting. And this is an idea, basically, this is one of the most common ways to engage in accelerated learning is essentially compacting the curriculum, which is shortening it a little bit so that students move through the standards a little bit faster and essentially engage in standards that are above their grade level in that particular year. We really will use the NGLS standards as our primary way to measure how students are performing above grade level by engaging them in standards aligned instruction that is above their grade level. All gifted and talented programs will engage in either foreign language instruction or dual language instruction that will begin at kindergarten. And they will also engage in interdisciplinary project-based learning aligned to the city's PBL professional development that I referenced earlier, that 127 and 102 engaged in, as well as our STEAM enrichment and Math and Science Olympiad. These are for all of our existing current gifted and talented programs. And then in middle school, I've proposed a draft plan for beginning in 2024-2025, a 2-tiered screened admissions program. So starting with, we call it the superintendent program because folks are very familiar with that and understand the overall concept of academically screened into 6th grade. So the criteria is that the child is above grade level in reading and math. And the programming they will engage in is a program pathway that begins in 6th grade and ends in 8th grade. They will engage in approved NGLS aligned curriculum in the 4 core content areas, and schools will engage them in curriculum compacting. So they will progress through the standards at a different pace and rate and in a different way than the general education students will, who will be engaged in a grade level appropriate curriculum. For example, the Into Literature curriculum that Aaron presented on earlier. They will engage in the Regents pathways in algebra, either living environment or earth science, and in some cases both. And then in the foreign language or world language test, which students can receive high school credit for. And this includes the dual language programs. And then any specialized multidisciplinary enrichment coursework that schools provide. So all schools will develop plans that include school-based and school design programs. So for example, McKinley Junior High School's approved screening program this year was centered on IIM, or the independent investigations method is what it stands for, which is a 6th through 8th grade basically research project that students engage in. They started in 6th grade and ends in 8th grade. The law studies program is another example, which is the approved program at 201. Virtual Enterprise is a program that a few of our schools have won. This is the other piece that students who are in the superintendent program will engage in as part of their accelerated learning pathway. That's for students who are meet the screened admissions criteria of being above grade level in both reading and math. Then for students who are above grade level in just math, the next program that will be an opportunity for them is the Algebra Honors Program. It's similar to the superintendent program, except for students will engage in curriculum compacting in just math, and they will only be programmed for the algebra regions and for the foreign language or world language subject that they're engaged in at the school. All of the other components are the same: the approved NGLS aligned curriculum pathway in the content areas, and the specialized enrichment coursework that the school provides to their accelerated learners. Just some like initial next steps for this plan. It is a draft as far as the design of the curriculum and academic experience. That's pretty set. In terms of the admissions criteria and the seat targets, that's something that I'm working with Central DOE, Office of Admissions, on finalizing, and can provide updates on those topics at a later date. Obviously, presenting the finalized plan for implementation, I plan to be able to share a finalized plan by September, so that parents are aware of all the different aspects that are currently unanswered, including the admissions criteria and the seat targets. I am set up to engage in additional teacher panels to hear more from district teachers around their their experience with accelerated learning, gifted and talented classes, and align to the different aspects of the research questions. We will be engaged in the design of a professional learning plan for teachers. Our primary areas are going to be in curriculum compacting and in the design of project-based learning. So that those are going to be two, obviously, because though in elementary, both in the elementary and the middle school programs, curriculum compacting is going to be a key component of the implementation and our expectations for accelerated learning. And then project-based learning is an area where many of our schools really leverage already, and the implementation of the curriculum really provides a great opportunity for both the leveraging of existing projects and the design of new projects based off of the curriculum that they're implementing. We're in the process of just starting to look at planning some school showcases so that parents can start to see some of the opportunities directly and in person of what some of these enrichment opportunities look like at all of our middle schools. Obviously, continued community engagement in the district around this plan, and then the posting of school-based plans on school websites and on the district websites, so that parents who we want to obviously provide the opportunity to go to schools or to be able to meet with school leaders and hear directly about how they're planning to go about providing their specific school-based enrichment accelerated learning coursework, but also be able to go on to school websites and be able to read about it and see what schools are planning to do for that upcoming year. And then finally, and then I'm happy to take questions. And finally, just an update on the dual language program expansion. So just an update for admissions. So for any families in the district who are interested, waitlists are now open, and the waitlist will be open until September. So if there are any families in the district who are interested in having their rising sixth grader attend one of our dual language programs, parents can go into the My Schools application just like you would for any of, during the application process, and add your name to the newly created waitlists for the dual language programs at these 4 schools. It doesn't guarantee admission. It is a waitlist, just like a waitlist for any other admissions process at the school. But due to the creation of the programs after the formal middle school admissions process, this in this year and only this year will we have this structure for parents to be able to show their interest and potentially get into one of the dual language programs. Next year, all of these dual language programs will be on the regular middle school application and will be part of the regular application process. But for this upcoming year only, for any families who are interested in attending one of the 4 programs on the screen, they can go into their My Schools website and add their child's name to the newly created dual language program waitlist at these 4 schools. And we're finally the one language that we were not able to cite and create a program for was for Russian. We have a Russian dual language program at PS 200, and I'm currently exploring site options for expanding Russian dual language to middle school, and I plan to find a site and engage that school community in the preparation for opening Russian dual language at the middle school level in 2024, 2025.
Thank you, David. That's a lot of information, and I don't necessarily want to repeat anything. I think a number of us are familiar, but obviously a lot of us are not familiar, so I do want to allow some time for questions. One of my, just a quick question on the Arabic program. I've seen the other programs are up on My Schools. They're available to be applied to, but the Arabic one hasn't showed up at IS30's My Schools page yet. And I had a quick conversation, I think, with Chairman, and she said that they're still working on it. What's going on with the Arabic program?
I don't know. That should be up. I'll check back with admissions to see what's going on with that. But the waitlist should be open. So I will circle back with admissions and then provide an update to the council.
Like I said, all the 3 other programs, it's all available on My Schools. You can sign up for any one of the other 3, but just Arabic doesn't show up for some reason.
Got it. Thank you for letting me know. I will check into that tonight.
Any questions for David from council members on the announcements you just made? Yeah. Elizabeth, can you use the mic? Elizabeth, you put it closer to your mouth.
General ed, they want to be part of the process. They want to be able to take the recent test when they feel like, but there's no room because, you have to take a recent test. So just be open and aware that a lot of kids that didn't do well, that didn't get into the accelerated programs, we want to take the recent test. And they don't want to be stuck like in one track.
I'm sorry, Elizabeth, I couldn't hear the question.
General ed, so will there be opportunities in the coming years for them to
Elizabeth's question, I'll restate it. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you okay.
Elizabeth's question was for general education kids who might not enter the screen program initially, will there be opportunities for them, for example, to get on the Regents track in middle school? Elizabeth, is that right? That's the question.
Yeah, that's part of my expectation around schools developing plans for how they're going to provide access to these opportunities for all kids. The short answer is yes. How that's going to happen is going to vary from school to school, and is going to vary from child to child. So the short answer is yes. The long answer is going to be how it happens for different kids at different schools, and that's going to be part of how we examine the number of students. There's a variety of factors that are going to go into it. Not to get too wonky, but just from a starting point, the number of seats we're able to identify will impact that. How children perform on the different sources that we'll be able to use that will establish the criteria will determine that. And then the school's programming, how they go about. So for example, at IS 201, there were an additional 35 kids at least who were able to engage in Regents programming for algebra, in addition to the 5 classes of kids who were already in a Regents class. So the principal programmed them into a morning program, and those 35 additional students took the algebra Regents class in a morning program prior to the regular day, because that was the only way from a programming standpoint that he was able to do it, but he was able to do it in that way. So there's going to be a lot of creative ways for students that maybe not get in on the initial admission cycle, but nonetheless in 7th grade demonstrate that they're ready for it, they're interested, and schools are going to start working on developing plans for how to provide access for students who didn't necessarily get in the 6th grade.
Okay. David, I don't think we have any more questions right now. I see you have another slide here. Did you want to run through that? Your final.
Yeah, just to follow up, I know that I'm not in person, and there's a lot of new council members. So, again, I apologize for not being in person to introduce myself. In August, I will definitely be in person, and I'll also be able to go through an introduction of the District 20 team, including hopefully the new members that will be identified by that time, as well as be able to kind of give it an overview summary of the things that we accomplished in this prior school year that will inform some of our goals for the upcoming year. Hopefully be able to share the end of year district data. Hopefully state assessment data will be available, be able to share that, as well as share end of year data from iReady and Acadians. And then finally share draft goals from the DCEP to kind of inform what the priorities in the district are going to be upcoming. So that just kind of a framework of what to expect in August.
Great.
And that concludes my report. So much. No problem.
As always, for your time and information you provided our meetings. I'll just make a quick couple comments on President's report. There's two really important ongoing topics that I've been involved with and are really going to be very important over the next few months. One is, we already talked about it briefly in the meeting, is the zoning changes for the new schools. Just for any council members who don't know, in the fall, we will be voting on zoning changes for 3 new schools that are coming online in District 20. So we'll talk more about that. I'll share information with all the new individuals on the council, but that's going to be sometime in the fall, and there's going to be meetings between now and then, more planning for that. And then the second is the class size law, the working group. I just always like to mention this at meetings. So for anyone who doesn't know, the state passed a law last year mandating smaller student class sizes. in elementary school, middle school, and high school. And now there's a working group, a citywide working group, that's coming up with recommendations for how to implement the law. So we're working with the DOE. We're going to ultimately provide recommendations to the DOE to how to implement the law. And it's really complicated. There's many different parts to it. I'm not going to talk about it now, but I just want to tell all the council members here that that's another thing that we should be communicating about, and I'll share more information with all of you about that, because it really does affect District 20. District 20 is one of the most overcrowded districts in the city. So this law is going to have a lot of impact on our schools and programming and our classes and class sizes, et cetera. So, and that also has a timeline in the fall to provide recommendations to the DOE. So between now and the fall, zoning and the class size law are two things I'm going to be working on a lot. That's it for me. And that's it for the calendar meeting. Public speaking, we usually end our calendar meeting with a second public speaking session for any parents who stayed through the whole meeting. So I'll just make a reminder, if there are any parents or any individuals on the meeting who would like to speak, you can sign up using the form that is posted in the chat. You can also raise your hand and we will call on you. And then if there are any individuals on the language lines who would like to make a comment, the interpreters, please notify us. Kevin, do we have anyone else signed up?
Yes, we have Paula and Yuri.
Paulette, go ahead.
Hi, can everyone hear me? Can people hear me? Hello? Oh, thank you, Superintendent. I just wanted to say that I'm here representing the council on D75, and I know that CEC 20 does not have a D75 representative, so you can bet your bottom dollar I will make sure that that seat is filled before the start of the before January. There's a couple of candidates that have come forward that seem very, very interested. And, you know, we're starting this term with 10 open D75 seats across the city. CEC 20 and 18 being 2 that are in Brooklyn specific. So being that that's the borough that I live in, making sure that that's a priority. Our council will be providing professional development and continued support throughout the term for these newly elected seats. We'll be talking about how to engage the community, how to schedule school visits, and how to partner up with your community education colleagues to work together in making sure that the combined concerns of the community are being addressed during these meetings. So I'm happy to be in attendance here. Good luck to all of you elected officials, and can't wait to see what comes out of D20. I also really appreciate Dr. Prado's overview of, reimagining what our gifted and talented programs can look like. But I definitely want to continue amplifying that our students in NEST and Horizon programs still need representation as well. And I know that I have a great partner in you, Superintendent, to make sure that happens with the 5 new buildings coming into our district. So happy to continue supporting, not only as a CC D75 elected official, but also as a living member of this community for many, many years. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. That's it. And on the interpretation lines, is there anyone on the interpretation lines who would like to make a public comment?
For the Arabic, no.
And Spanish line either, there's no questions.
The Mandarin line has no any question.
Okay, thank you. It's just, hold on a second.
Welcome.
For David. Hey, one of our council members just wants to address, raise an issue here from one of our parents. David, you're still there, right?
Yes, I'm still here.
We're a little out of sequence here, but it's our first meeting as a new council. So go ahead, John. Do you have something?
I can't hear it very well.
Yeah, and John, are you able to?
1 to 6 on the autistic spectrum, and they want her to travel and also lose also. And she has to leave the district 20, so she should be able to get assistance and education in her own district. That's the whole line. So I want to know anything about that.
David, could you hear that?
No, I couldn't hear that.
So John Riccatone, one of our new council members, he heard from a parent. The parent's daughter was diagnosed on the autism spectrum. Their DOE has assigned the daughter to a school in Canarsie, but the parent's obviously concerned about the travel and is asking if the students can be, and she's 5 years old, I'm told, and if the student can be placed in closer to home.
So the parent can, I mean, as a first step, the parent can reach directly out to Bill or Sylvia, obviously, and Bill and Sylvia can connect them with the folks from the Office of Special Ed, from placement, to see what other options are available. What I can say, without knowing much more about the individual case, is that Nest and Horizon programs are definitely in high demand. We have advocated for the expansion of Nest and Horizon to the middle school level, which we don't currently have any Nest or Horizon seats for middle school in the district. And we continue to see at the district level more requests like this, like ones that John is referring to. So we are advocating for additional seats in the district. There's the possibility that the child was offered a seat in Canarsie because that may have been the closest option available. But definitely the parent, as an immediate next step, the parent can reach directly out to Bill Sylvia so we can get them connected with the appropriate folks who do placement for Nest and Horizon in the ASD programs to find out more information about options.
Great, thanks. And so I think that's it. Now what we'll do is we'll just make a motion to adjourn the calendar meeting, and then we do have the business meeting, but the business meeting will be very, very short. Yeah, the minutes. So let's approve. Yeah, so the last thing for the calendar meeting, we'll just approve the minutes from last month's calendar meeting. And just for everyone who's new, all we're going to do is Kevin will share on the screen the minutes from last month's meeting. Look it over as it comes by. Some of you are not even here for that meeting, but if there are any changes, speak up. And if not, we'll approve the minutes, and we'll move on. So Kevin, yeah, you can just share those. There's nothing you can do about it. It's because it's a new term. Yeah. Okay, so those are the minutes from the calendar meeting. Are there any changes? Okay, hearing no changes, the minutes are approved. So now we will adjourn the calendar meeting and then we will just do the same. Oh, sure. Yes, I forgot about the special meeting. Yeah. Yeah, with ODP. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, can you share those? We had a special meeting with the Office of District Planning on June 26th. And so we'll now share those minutes. This is the zoning, this is about the zoning presentation, the zoning proposals. Office of District Planning presented their zoning proposal on June 26th to the community. We heard community feedback. Kevin, I would like to add, please, to the, hold on one sec. Can you go up a little bit? Yeah, the new schools. Can you scroll down to the questions? So I just want to add to the, can you add to the questions? Concern about PS 939 zone in Bay Ridge and preference to have those zoned for K53. So that was an issue that was raised as well. And that had to do with the street safety and the distance and proximity. But specifically, I would like that in there, that parents concern about, interest in seeing the PS 939 zones in Bay Ridge changed to K53. That was very clearly raised at the meeting. So that's my only amendment to that section. Add that to the section on questions. Any other changes to these minutes? So let's just take I think we should take a vote since there was one change made, just an official vote to approve these minutes. So is there a motion to approve the minutes from the special meeting? And I just need someone to make a motion.
Make a motion.
Yeah, second. Thank you.
Second.
Okay, so Kevin, can you just take a vote on approving the special meeting minutes? With that change. Again, this is with the change to add the one change mentioned. Yes, approve.
Elizabeth Chen,
Yes.
Kevin Zhao,
Yes.
Joey Steve,
Yes.
She's on, but she's. Okay. And now, Kevin, am I okay to adjourn the calendar meeting? And then everyone will just do after this, we're gonna do the business meeting. It's gonna be very short. And then we'll be done. So a motion to adjourn the calendar meeting. Second.
Second.
Thank you. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the calendar meeting is adjourned. Would anyone want a short break or do you want to go right into the business meeting so we can just get it done? Let's start. Anyone need a break for any reason?